here between Stats and Bbyong. The winner goes off to face off against Sulky in our third best of 3. And in the bottom center, he is
KT roster Stats.
And in the upper right, we have our Terran player.
CJ Entus Bbyong.
Talk to me, Tosis.
I gotta wait for this portrait shot to finish. I don't want to be rude. Well, you know, I'm having a good time here. Bbyong showing 2 completely different strategies.
He's a really dynamic player.
He really is.
Yeah.
He's one of these Terrans that actually uses far more styles than really any other Terran. So, kind of excited to see what he'll do here. Would like for him to win, to be honest. I feel like there's more value in Bbyong for me than Stats. Like, Stats is a fantastic boss, but Bbyong is someone that, like, everyone should be excited to see make it far.
Well, his games have been getting better and better here.
He did so well in Pro League, too.
Yeah.
Just a fantastic player.
It is a 3-player map. And so I'm wondering which way we're going to have Stats scout. It looks like Stats... okay, Stats is actually not scouting yet. So both players really just going for macro games here.
All right. Well,
valuing econ over intel.
Most likely. And, you know, Stats has had some pretty cool building placements so far today. Just kind of fending himself off against any possible Reapers quite often. Maybe a little bit harder to pull his probes out of that area in a jam.
Well, the Reaper is about to pop out now. We do see that Bbyong is scouting the upper left, which will obviously tell him immediately that his opponent's now here in the bottom, since it's only 3 spawning points on this map. And that core is about to finish up. And then let's see what exactly Stats is going to tech to. I would assume it's just going to be a Robo Bay. Just get a few Stalkers, Sentry out, Robo it up.
I think you're right. That's a good choice. And also, I think a Twilight's a good choice. On this map, I can't blame anyone that opens up with a blank opening just to try to get some damage done, try to control the map at minimum, make them play a bit defensive, because taking your third can be very, very difficult. And we've seen more and more Protosses try builds like that, especially on some of the harder maps. Parting being a big guy that's really enjoying going Blink right now instead of straight into Robo, like Blink into Colossus. Even though Blink All-ins don't kill people like they used to, that's for sure.
Well, they really used to kill people.
Yeah.
We have the eBay about to finish up here. I'm also interested in seeing if we're going to have any teching like we saw from Bbyong last time, where he's getting double armory, for instance. Don't know, because that might have just been triggered by the Phoenixes, but...
The style you played on the last map is actually perfect for this map. You know, even... I mean, he could do like a move-in like we saw last time. I don't think that's 100% needed, but... Oh my god, that's a good scout.
Yeah, really nicely done.
That tells you something. Why was this probe up here?
That was I gotta say, we don't normally see players scout all the way into the other non-occupied main.
Well, this is why Bbyong actually gets through the qualifiers every time and makes it into Code S. You're not going to sneak anything by him.
You're not going to pull a fast one on this guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is... I do think, as I was saying, the style we saw from Bbyong in the last game, I feel would be the perfect style against Stats. I think SCV pulls here are fantastic. I think just having a big bio force is really strong. It's hard to hold on to that third. It's so easy to pick up and go into the main base as well. And Stats going for this one Forge style again.
Yeah.
I do feel like this is going to come back into popularity big time with Protoss players.
It's a really safe build.
Yeah, it makes it...
It's safe, it's very conservative. You're not doing anything fancy to the Terran early on. All you really want to do is defend. If Terran does attack and you and overextends, you just try to kill that off. But yeah, I think it's a very solid build. Not always as popular, though, as you were saying, but I think it's really good. We have Stim starting now for Bbyong, and the +1 range attack about to finish up.
We have a photon cannon being made.
Is that in the main, or is that in the expansion?
I think it's in the main, but they haven't shown it yet, so we'll see in a minute. But This photon cannon is different. This could be... Okay, this is actually a very defensive one against the type of push he just played against last game.
By the way, Bbyong really on top of those observers.
But yeah, this photon cannon, this is actually great to see because he's doing a very similar build to what we saw before, where he's being very greedy, getting super fast Colossus tech before the gateways, as well as that armor. I really like this from Stats. He's kind of quote-unquote fixed things, right? Like,
well, I like this series because both these guys are adapting so well to each other.
Well, right now we do have that +1 armor on the way for Bbyong. Already does have +1 attack, of course. Stim going to be coming up pretty soon, and his starport is finishing. Whereas Stats right now going into the Twilight. I think that this is just a really smart build from Stats. You know, get your Blink, get your Colossus. Don't waste too much money on too many forges here, because you know that could put you into some really serious danger if you try to take that third base. Or, you know, if you're trying to do a timing attack, it's going to be a little bit weaker if you're trying to wait for 2-2 or something like that.
Let's see if he spots a second observer. You can see Stats really wants to know exactly how many barracks his opponent has. That's one of the easier ways to tell what's going on. If you can't even get the check for some of the expansions, if you just see how many barracks there are and you're good enough with timing that out. You know, if you see, let's say, 3 instead of 6, then you have to know the money's going somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. It really is so telling. Like, he'll check again in a minute here, because if there's not a 4th and a 5th added really soon, see, he's checking the 3rd just to make sure, but
yeah,
now he'll go back, because if there's a 4th and 5th being added, then he knows that it's heavy aggression off 2 base. If there's not, he knows there has to be a 3rd command.
He's still waiting. We do have the armory, by the way, almost done. And that's the 2nd starport he's making, right? Yeah, so he's getting a double starport now.
He does look like a very similar style to before. But with the speed of this 2nd starport, if I had to guess, he's actually going to do it off 2 base, which can be very scary indeed. But the type of build that we've seen chosen here from Stats is not too bad against it, because he's getting his Colossus out so quickly. And once he has that Blink out, you know, maybe he can pick off a Medevac or 2, pick off a Viking or 2 when the push actually comes.
Well, I guess we're not going to have anything at all like game number 2 here. He's probably just giving up on the timings. I guess that's a smart move. There's no need for him to depend on a timing attack here if he played so well in game number 1. And what was interesting about game number 1 that we don't see as much of, normally in TVP, it's the Terran just, you know, shoves through the Protoss' army, and eventually the warp and rounds aren't going to happen fast enough and he wins. And there's occasionally harassment or trying to outposition them, but that was a real, like, kind of like guerrilla tactics, lots of guerrilla tactics going on there from Bbyong. In game number 1. He really just, eventually Stats was out of money and fell apart. So it'll be interesting to see what he does here, his playstyle as this game goes on in game number 3. Okay, so he doesn't see that 2nd starport yet, but he is going to notice pretty quickly here. If he sends in another fake Phoenix, he's going to say, wait a minute, these starport count, for everything coming out of the starport, there's too many of them, so there has to be a 2nd.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, out of all the things that are important for Protoss to know, it's one of the most important is when is that 2nd starport up?
Yeah. Because
that's when you suddenly have way more Vikings or way more Medevacs.
You're completely right. And when it comes up before that 3rd command, that really means they're going to do a pull against you. They're going to pull the boys. And
they're going to pull the boys.
Isn't that the greatest saying ever for SCVs?
You just said that like it was a thing. Like, well, they're going to pull the boys.
It is. They a bunch of the European pros call it pulling the boys.
Pulling the boys. Wait,
I love it.
Can't we do better than this, though?
No,
like,
no.
There's got to be a...
It's pretty much
This is like
just
when I found it in Hearthstone. I remember I was asking, like, why do they call it hand lock?
Because it's Warlock that focuses on hand size.
And I'm like, well, that's the stupidest name ever. I thought it was something more fancy to it, but...
You can ask LS. He invented it. Well, yeah, this is like this is a super interesting game. These guys...
So be it, European pros. We might see them pulling the boys.
But the thing is, it's not correct to pull the boys against 2 base. Like, it's correct to do it against 3 base. But this is such a funny situation. Look at this. He's adding cannons. I love this game. This game, right now, the one that we're watching, is fantastic because these guys are countering and re-countering each other.
Oh, they pulled the boys.
Oh, man. I don't know,
Look at all those boys, Artosis.
Oh, God.
So many boys.
So many boys. Some of them even bringing kegs. It's going to be a party up in this Protoss base. Tasteless, this is going to be crazy. There's 2 sentries here to slow things down. He's got charge, right? Yeah, charge is finished.
I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed he's doing
a lot
this
of
with
Colossus.
I mean,
he's on 2 base, though. This is
let's
like...
see if this actually works. Yeah, I was gonna say this is 2 base versus...
yeah.
Well, let's all see if the SVs can get in here. Okay, he dives in with the Vikings. There's so many Colossi, though.
That's right, and he's actually kiting against the Colossi beautifully. The Colossi trying to kite back as well. He does pull back these Zods. He goes back up. He has all these cannons, and so far, so good for stats. He's starting to kill off every single Viking, and it looks like he'll still have, oh my god, 3 Colossi left over.
I mean, Stats is making this attempt here by Bbyong look foolish. And I gotta say, you know, based off everything that we all know about RTS, this is just something that probably should not work anyways, right?
Yeah.
GG. 2 base, Protoss has cannons. Force fields were available, but they weren't even necessary
Yeah.
there. I mean, everything that you know about RTS tells you that probably should not work. Or if that actually beats Stats, then we need to, like, I gotta get David Kim on my speed dials, and we gotta do that.
Exactly.
That would not be a fair scenario. Protoss completely and totally defended on 2 base.
It actually, I think it short-circuited Bbyong's brain that there was no third that late. Like, he was even scanning. He's like, thing is that that's where I can tell that he just was like kind of unprepared when he scanned and he saw that like more gateways were being added, but still no third base, because Stats was like, oh, you're going to set 2 bases, 5 racks, and 2 starports? I'm not taking a third. You come up this ramp and I'll kill you.
What did we learn that game? Most importantly, some people call that pulling the boys. We're going to be on a short break. When we come back, we're going to go to the winners match here at the GSL Code S.